What's going on, guys? Welcome back to WWE Network and Chill, where I, Graham G.S. and Matthews, break down all the original content I watch on the WWE Network. And today we're talking the January 4th, 2021 edition, and it's going to take some time for me to get used to saying 2021. That edition of Raw Talk from last night, immediately following the Legends Night edition of Raw on Monday. So, overall, not Raw Talk, which I'll get to in a second, which was actually better than usual, surprisingly enough, and hopefully that's a trend of things to come in the new year. I'm not getting my hopes up, but I did think this was a slightly better than usual edition of Raw Talk. Raw itself, in a nutshell, was incredibly disappointing, and I am well aware of the fact that the only reason why they did Legends Night was obviously to pop a rating. The ratings have been in the fucking toilet for weeks, months, years now, so I'm well aware of that. But you would think if they bring all of these people in, everyone from Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair to Tori Wilson and God knows who else, that they would do more with them than just have them make backstage cameos. Hogan was involved in maybe 2 or 3 different segments, at least 2. The dumb phone one to kick off the show, which was incredibly stupid, and then the McIntyre interaction was good. But other than that, they didn't really do a lot. They were sitting on the stage at the end of the show watching the main event, which was kind of funny. I didn't hate that. I just thought it was weird. But yeah, just a very disappointing show. Thankfully, Raw Talk, again, shockingly enough, because Raw Talk is usually the worst weekly network show they have, well over anything else. But this I actually thought was a decent show for what they had on here. But before I get to any of the guests, they had Charlotte, Caruso, and R-Truth recapping the ending to Raw that saw Drew McIntyre retain the WWE Championship over Keith Lee in what was a great match, followed by the surprise return of Goldberg, we have not seen since WrestleMania 36 when he lost the Universal Championship to Braun Strowman. Now, Goldberg recently had his Untold on the network, interviewed him a couple weeks ago, great guy. He actually teased going up against Roman Reigns at some point. He outright said that you're next. Not on Twitter, I don't think, but either in our interview or on the bump or whatever. He just outright said that Roman Reigns is on his radar and basically said that he was next. Well, apparently he's not next if he's going for Drew McIntyre instead. So I'm not sure if that was a red herring, something that was planned the entire time, or they just changed plans, which I get the feeling that they did. I think Roman and Goldberg would have been the absolute perfect match for the Rumble. McIntyre and Goldberg isn't a bad idea either. And I'll get into this at another time later on this week, but the match could be better than what Roman and Goldberg could have, and that's not guaranteed. McIntyre's great, a better wrestler than Roman, but Roman's had some pretty good spectacle matches over the years as well. Goldberg and Brock went in there and had a fucking awesome match at WrestleMania 33, so if Roman and Goldberg is anything like that, they could also go in there and have a fun match. I don't want to see Roman and Goldberg at WrestleMania. I'm very happy that hopefully this whole Goldberg thing on Raw keeps him as far away from SmackDown as humanly possible. And I like Goldberg, but I don't need to see Goldberg facing Roman for the Universal Championship or WrestleMania. I don't want to see Goldberg as WWE Champion going into WrestleMania. Whether it's Goldberg, Brock, Triple H, Undertaker, it doesn't fucking matter. Not even John Cena. I just don't think any of the part-timers coming back and getting a title shot in the main event of Mania at this point makes any sense. And I know I've said before, The Rock would be the perfect opponent for Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. Yeah, given the story. It would have to make sense. Roman and Rock makes too much sense to not do. I just don't think Rock's going to be available this year, or they just don't want to do it in front of no fans. I don't know. That's the only exception. Everyone else, Taker, Triple H, we're fucking done with this shit. We got to move on from them in the title picture. Triple H, or rather Taker, hasn't been involved in the title picture in a fucking decade, but Triple H has. Brock certainly has. Goldberg certainly has as well, including last year. Both Brock and Goldberg walked into WrestleMania as the champions last year. That was only a mere year ago, so I'm very afraid they might do that again, at least with Goldberg on the Raw side, which makes me scared. So anyway, moving along here with Raw Talk, R-Truth recalls becoming a 46-time 24/7 champion on Raw this week. Angel Garza won the title on the New Year's Eve TikTok celebration, whatever the fuck that was, on Friday. So then Truth won it immediately right back on Raw last night after a distraction from the Boogeyman and from Tori Wilson. So R-Truth now a 46-time 24/7 champion. So the first guest they have on is Charlotte, without Asuka. So the Charlotte stuff was incredibly confusing on the show this week. So Charlotte and Asuka, a bit of a recap. Charlotte and Asuka lost to Lacey Evans and Peyton Royce. in non-title tag team action following an inadvertent distraction from Ric. I think Ric tried to grab the arm, or rather the foot or the leg or whatever, of Peyton, and then he grabbed Charlotte's leg instead by accident when they were like running the ropes. So then Peyton rolled up Charlotte, which is a big win for Peyton, but I have no, not aspirations, but any real hope that's going to lead to a significant push for Peyton. I think 2021 could be her year, but after she beat fucking Bayley in a matter of minutes at Survivor Series, and that went nowhere, I have no hope this is going to lead anywhere either. Really, the giant focus of this was not the fact that Peyton and Lacey won, but rather the fact that Ric inadvertently cost Charlotte the win. So Charlotte gets out of the ring. Asuka's nowhere to be found. I don't know where the fuck Asuka was. But Charlotte gets in Ric's face. And up to this point, for the last 2 or 3 weeks, Charlotte has been a babyface on this show. She goes up to her father, goes face to face with him, and basically scolds him and says, I don't want you at ringside. I don't need you out here, blah, blah, blah. Essentially teasing a heel turn. It wasn't like one of those like, hey, Dad, would you mind backing off, blah, blah, blah. I can win on my own. She was like an outright bitch here to her own father. And the funny thing about this is that we've seen this time and time again with these two for the last 5 years. So the fact they're doing it again is nothing new. And also Charlotte, I mean, is she a heel? Is she a face? It's so fucking confusing. And what she said here didn't really set the record straight much either. She said, Ric actually came out with her initially on a Raw Talk, and then he was kind of ushered off by Charlotte. Charlotte said, I'm not really sure why you followed me out here, so she kind of brushes him off and he leaves. And Charlie and R-Truth kind of speculate maybe it was her frustration getting to her. I mean, obviously no shit. But really, she says that she's bothered by always being overshadowed by her father. She's still bothered by being labeled as Ric Flair's daughter by ESPN 2 years ago. Going into the WrestleMania main event, they said Ronda Rousey, the Raw Women's Champion, Becky Lynch, the Women's Royal Rumble winner, Charlotte Flair, Ric Flair's daughter, which is hilarious considering that she has more accolades than Becky and Ronda in this company combined. Yeah, that's what they labeled her as. But there was no reason for Charlotte to be in that and to be in that match in the first place. So that's another discussion for another day. But the whole point of this is that she wants to step out of her father's shadow. And she says that she wants to represent the women. She wants to, she talked about this a week or two ago. She wants to represent the women and really elevate the tag team division. But it's hard to do that when she's being overshadowed by her dad. She wants to be all about women empowerment, but she can't be doing that when she has her dad winning her battles for her, fighting her battles for her. So she said that last year she wasn't a favorite to win the Rumble, which she wasn't. I mean, I guess from a storyline standpoint she was. From like a betting, she said, oh yeah, Shayna was the favorite. I mean, on TV she fucking wasn't because Shayna wasn't even in the match. She wasn't announced for the match ahead of time. On TV, I guess Charlotte was the favorite, but in reality, did anyone really expect Charlotte to win? No, and she won anyway. And she intends to do it again. She announced herself for the Women's Rumble earlier on in the show on Raw. So she will be in the Women's Rumble again. And there honestly is a chance that she could win it again. I don't want to say, oh, she won last year, she won't win it this year. I mean, obviously, that would be a dumb idea, and Bianca's a much better choice. But we all know all roads are leading to Charlotte and Asuka at WrestleMania. So they absolutely could get there by having Charlotte win twice. I mean, they only had the Rumble for 2 or 3, 4 years when Hogan won twice in 90 and 91. So, I mean, I know Charlotte is no Hulk Hogan, but for the women's division, she kind of is. So if they wanted Charlotte to make history by winning the Rumble back-to-back years, they absolutely could and may do that. I absolutely expect Charlotte to make it down to the Final Four at least. But in reality, it should come down to Bianca and Charlotte, and Bianca should toss her fucking ass out after Charlotte embarrassed her on the road to WrestleMania last year. That's what I would do. So they welcome on Mustafa Ali as the second guest, and this was absolutely the best part of the show. I fucking hate Retribution. The group sucks. They won on the Raw. They won on Raw this week, which was a blessing. But Ali just went off on Legends Not Here, and it was amazing. He said that Raw was dedicated this week to all the has-beens, in his words, and he said to people that can't walk. Why is Raw being dedicated to people who, paved the way and blah, blah, blah? And he brings up a great question. He says, they paved the way. Because Charlie brings up, you got to show respect, and R-Truth mentioned that too. You got to show respect, and he's like, I do respect them, they paved the way. But he has a great quote here when he says, when can I walk on the path that they paved for people like me? And he mentions Drew Gulak, Akira Tozawa, people like himself that don't even make the show. They weren't on Raw this week because they had their TV time taken away from them by the legends. And I think Ali made a full-on face turn here because everything that he said here was completely and utterly accurate. There was not one lie in anything that he said during this speech. And yeah, he was slandering people like Flair and Hogan and whatever. But listen, a lot of people don't want to fucking see them on the show anymore anyway. So I think this really did turn him face, even though Retribution still sucks. He says that WWE needs change and that Retribution is going to be that change, and that Ricochet, they're still teasing that whole Ricochet thing, that Ricochet could be a part of that change if he just decides to join the group. So then Shayna comes on, and Shayna was really good here too. And I'll talk about the problem with the Shayna thing in a second. But Shayna's coming off a loss, a 30-second loss to Dana Brooke on Raw this week. R-Truth, the first thing that he brings up when Shayna comes on is like the tartar sauce. I know it's a running gag between the two, the whole tartar sauce thing. It was funny the first time or two. By this point, it's just stupid. So the whole Shayna thing here, this is why R-Truth annoys me on the show. R-Truth is a godsend. The guy's incredibly entertaining. But when it comes to stuff like this, he's got to shut the fuck up. I mean, it just takes away from the moment when Shayna's like utterly, she's completely pissed and she wants to let out frustration. And then R-Truth is there cracking jokes. Like, there's a time and a place for that. This is not fucking it. So he was just incredibly annoying here by the end. But other than that, this was all Shayna. So she says that the best athletes belong in that ring, such as herself. Why is Dana Brooke in there? Why is Mandy Rose in there? And she brings up a great point. Mandy Rose is getting a lot better. Dana Brooke absolutely sucks. She just sucks. So she's right. When only the best athletes belong in that ring, why is Dana Brooke in there? Then again, when you say shit like that, it doesn't make you look too good, considering you just lost to that woman in 30 seconds. But she claims that people have forgotten what she's all about, and that no one in that women's division can hold a candle to her and what she can do. She said the only reason why Charlotte won the Rumble last year was because she was hungry in the ring. And they asked her, is she going to join the Women's Rumble this year? And she says, I'm not going to reveal my hand or whatever. She basically did not deny or confirm that she will be in the Rumble, which clearly she will be. I'm not really sure what the surprise is here. We know she'll be in it. They need more fucking women to be in this Rumble. They don't have enough women on the main roster to be in it, and I know they weren't like intermingling the rosters with NXT a couple of months ago for Survivor Series, which makes me think, are the NXT women not going to be in the Rumble this year? They were like the highlight last year. They made up like a half of the Rumble. So anyway, Shayna's frustration here was great. She also made a lot of good points. The issue with this, kind of like the Ali thing, is that she's been booked like such a fucking loser. I mean, Retribution has been booked decently. They've won a decent amount of matches lately against Ricochet. Shayna's just a complete loser. I mean, it's great that she's showing frustration. She might be going back to being the badass that we saw in NXT, but she never lost to fucking anyone 30 seconds in NXT. So I'm not really sure what this is all about. And it's great that she's getting angry and intense, and I was thinking maybe this is what helps her get her to that point and becoming a threat again. But it's hard to care. I mean, she lost the Women's Rumble last year. She lost to Becky Lynch. She lost the Women's Money in the Bank ladder match. She wasn't on TV for a while. She disappeared for like a fucking month or two. She lost the Battle Royal when she came back. She won the fucking tag titles, which mean absolutely nothing. They lost the tag team titles, and now she's a loser again. She got pinned by fucking Lana like a month ago. I mean, it's ridiculous. So, again, I love the Ali and Shayna rants on the show. They are absolutely worth checking out. The problem is that they don't translate well to TV. First of all, these promos should have been cut on TV. But the thing is that they need to be booked better for these promos to matter. Because it just sounds like a bunch of hot air when they talk all this shit and then can't back it up in the ring. Ali's a little different because, again, Retribution has won their fair share of matches lately. The group is just terrible. I mean, if Ali cut this promo on his own without the Retribution goof showing up at the end, then it would have been like, holy shit, this guy means business. The Shayna shit is even worse because she talks all this shit and has not won a meaningful match since she showed up on the main roster. I mean, she won the main event of Elimination Chamber last year. That was probably the last important match that she has won on the show. And no, becoming tag team champion for 4 months is not going to cut it because those belts mean absolutely nothing. So again, I thought it was a better than usual edition of Raw Talk. The Shayna promo was great. The Ali promo was great. Even Charlotte's promo was pretty good too. Everyone on the show had something to prove. So the intensity, the frustration was there. You could feel it. You can sense it. I just thought Raw this week was very disappointing. Raw Talk might be where you should spend your time because the promos on the show, I thought this week anyway, were very good. They kept the business, the silliness anyway, to a minimum, and it was all business, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. So check it out right now on the WWE Network. That was the January 4th, 2021 edition of Raw Talk. Be sure to like this video, drop a comment, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for more daily content, including hitting that bell button to be notified every time a new video goes up. So stay tuned tomorrow for an episode of Hashtag AskGSM on Wednesday, WrestleRant radio excerpts on Thursday, and my interview with the one, the only, the WWE Hall of Famer, Stone Cold Steve Austin, coming up on Friday morning, talking straight of Steve Austin and much, much more. So stay tuned for that. It's very exciting stuff. Have a great one, guys. Enjoy the rest of your week. I'm Graham GSM Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.